Now, with regard to improving calculation skills, there have been many books written on this topic, and one of the first major work on this topic is I would consider as the Kotov's book "Think Like a Grandmaster," in which he wrote about the famous tree of analysis, and he introduced the concept of candidate moves and so on. So he tried to give a structure, give some theory, and kind of form a guideline into like how we should approach calculation process. What are the different steps involved? How we can work on this and become better. So he was giving many practical suggestions. But subsequently, when other grandmasters read these articles, read these books, and tried to apply it in their own games, they found there were many issues. It was not very practical what Mr. Kotov was suggesting. It was not very appropriate or easily applicable. So he was kind of rigid in many of his recommendations. He said like these things have to be done in this particular manner only, no matter what. So the players felt like we need more space and for to be creative, and we have to give some freedom to our mind to think in its own way. So there were some suggestions and improvements on Kotov's tree of analysis concept, and some of the prominent works I can recommend is like my suggestion would be first read this Think Like a Grandmaster by Kotov, and once you read this book, after a few months you can read the next book, which is Improve Your Chess Now by Jonathan Tisdall, and he came up with some better suggestions or possible improvements over Kotov's method. And then the next important work on this topic could be Secrets of Practical Chess by John Nunn. In that, he also goes through Kotov's suggestions, and he finds what are the practical difficulties a player will face if you try to blindly apply what Kotov recommended, and he gives some possible improvements or better alternatives. And then the next major work on this topic I would consider Mark Dvoretsky's book. In that there is a book Attack and Defense. In that book, Grandmaster Mikhail Krasenkov has written an article. I believe it is the chapter name is Wandering in the Jungle. In that he is adding new elements and giving better suggestions. And one of the thing which the first three books probably missed is the time factor. So everyone assumed like you have unlimited amount of time during the game and you can do all these processes. But Krasenkov introduced that the time factor is also something you need to take care. And also he highlighted the importance of having an aim, an objective. Like for example, what are you trying to achieve by doing this lengthy calculation? Are you trying to get an advantage from a slightly better position? Are you trying to increase your advantage or maintain your advantage, whatever you have? Because if you don't play in the accurate way, you may lose your advantage. Is it that your objective? Or you are trying to make a draw from a slightly worse position? Or you are trying to convert an advantage into a win? So you have to have an objective, and you also have to have a keen sense of the amount of time left. And is it worth spending a lot of time in this particular moment? Because if I spend most of my time at this particular moment and in the subsequent part of the game, when other critical moments come and I don't have time in the clock, is it a good idea to get into such a situation? So the time element, the aim element, all this he brings into the discussion. I think these are very relevant for a practical player. So I would recommend you to read all these 4 articles by different generation authors, and you can learn a lot in the process. And it is not only necessary to read, but you also have to think, okay, what you have read, does it make sense to you? Do you think you can apply this in your games? It should relate to you. You should feel, yes, I understand this, I think I can do this. Okay, if not, you think about it and say like, what modification should I make in this recommendation in a way that I can also apply this? So this introspection, contemplation is very important when you read books or listen to advices like in this course. And the topic of this chapter is about forcing moves. Now, regarding forcing moves, now many players I have seen when they are calculating, they have many quiet moves in their analysis. Most likely, like in the beginning, the first move itself could be a quiet move, and then they try to calculate it. Now it's very hard to analyze or calculate when many of the moves are quiet moves. So it is very important, like at the upcoming players level, when you're trying to learn calculation skills by solving puzzles or analyzing complex positions, always give priority to forcing moves. And among the forcing moves, so the forcing moves are check, capture, and threat. This is widely accepted, but I normally add pawn breaks as well, because I feel pawn breaks also accelerate the speed of the game, the pace of the game. So, but in this order, you have to give importance. Always among the check, capture, threat, you always give priority to check. So if there is a check in a position, even if it looks like a blunder, make it a habit to consider the check at least for 1 or 2 seconds. Okay. And then what will happen, whenever you want to form a good habit, you have to do it repeatedly, consciously, forcefully, even if you don't agree to it. Okay. You just do it repeatedly. Okay. This is what I'm going to do in this situation. Do it, do it, do it. And when you do it enough times, it'll become your habit, your second nature. And when it becomes your habit or second nature, you are not even aware that you are doing it. You are just doing it. Okay, as a matter of habit. That is the ideal way. So we all will have some bad habits, few good habits. Now what we have to do, we have to replace these bad habits with corresponding good habits. And that means you have to consciously not do this bad thing and replace it with a good thing, even if you don't agree to it or like it. Do it, do it, do it, do it till this becomes a new normal and this habit goes away. Okay, so if you don't have the habit of making list currently, let us say you force yourself to make list even if you don't like it, because it is the right thing to do and you want to make a habit out of it. So at every time you just tell, let me make a list, let me make a list, let me make a list. So remind yourself, force yourself to make a list. And if you do it sufficient time, this becomes your new normal. So whenever you look at a position, you automatically look at 2-3 options and then start your analytical process. It should become a subconscious process where you are not even aware that you are making list. Okay, fine. Now in forcing moves, as I mentioned, check, capture, threat, and you can add pawn breaks also. This is my recommendation. And in that order, okay, always give preference to checks, captures, threats, pawn breaks. Now, if you do that, your calculation will be more to the point and you will save much time as well in the whole process. Now, let us look at this position.